Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Dawson County Board of Commissioners voting session. Today is Thursday, October 21st, 2021. Appreciate those of you who are in attendance with us here in the room, as well as those that are with us online. First off, I need a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett, seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. We are out of executive session. Next, we'll do roll call. As you can see, we're all here. I will ask everyone to please stand for a brief invocation and pledge. Would bow your heads, please. Our dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this another day and for the many blessings of life. We ask that you give us knowledge and wisdom to carry out the business of this county. Anything that we accomplish will give you the honor and glory. In Christ's name, we do ask and pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Are there any announcements? Any announcements? We'll move on to the approval of the minutes. First up, we have the minutes of the work session held on October 7th, 2021. Any additions or deletions? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Dooley.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And those are approved 4-0. Next up, we have the minutes of the voting session held on October the 7th, 2021. Any additions or deletions? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Satterfield. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And those are approved 4-0. Next, we'll move to the approval of the agenda. I do have two changes to the agenda that I'll be recommending to you. Number 5 under new business, FY 2022 DHS Deanna Specialty Transportation Contract that was presented earlier today at the 4 o'clock work session. And the FY 2023 Georgia Department of Transportation Federal Transit Administration Section 5311 Transit Contract, which was also presented, and that will be number 6 under new business. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the agenda with those two changes.
Motion to approve is amended.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And the agenda is approved with those two changes. No one signed up for public comment in this first segment.
No, sir.
We'll move on to public hearing. Tonight we have a public hearing on the proposed FY 2022 budget. This is the second of 3 hearings. The first hearing was held at 4 o'clock today. The third hearing will be held at 6 p.m. on November the 4th. And for those of you that weren't with us at 4 o'clock, I'll kind of go over some of the proposed changes that were presented at that time to the board. One of those is in the planning department, changing the recommended front desk clerk to a permit specialist. And then also in the tax commissioner's office, the including of to property repairs and maintenance, a shredding contract, which will be joining in on the shredding contract that the county already has for $211. A couple of notary dues addition at $110, and then supplies for ink at $362 for $683. Those changes there that I recommended to you is a $4,391 reduction from the original budget that I proposed to you. We did have our planning director speak in the first one, requesting the board to also add a senior plan reviewer. And so you've been given that information, and you can think about that as we move forward. Does the board have any other changes or recommendations they would like to make before I open up this hearing? All right, so at this time, I will open up this hearing. Anyone here to speak on the proposed FY 2022 budget? Anyone here to speak on the proposed FY 2022 budget? Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. The third hearing will be held on on November the 4th at 6 o'clock, at which time you can take that up for approval if you so desire as the commission. We'll move on to zonings. Here are the zoning rules that we will use tonight. The planning director will present the application and recommendation of the planning commission. We will hear that from the applicant. Then I will open the hearing. We'll hear from those who are in favor of the application. Then we'll hear from those who are opposed to the application. Each person wishing to speak will be allotted 3 minutes per our zoning guidelines. Anyone who speaks will need to sign in and give us your name and address. Also, if anyone has donated $250 or more to any candidate, you will need to fill out a form stating so. We have those up here. And also, if you're here to speak on any of the zoning applications, please keep your comments to that specific zoning application so that we can work our way through the many zoning applications that we have tonight. And if you're representing a group and need more time, you can request that of the board. You would need to have the people show of hands that you are speaking for that group to get more than 3 minutes. Okay, those are the rules that we will go by in the zoning process. First up, we have special use 21-03. Donald Mulkey requests a special use of tax map parcel 037-035 for the purpose of placing a mobile home on less than 5 acres in a RA residential agricultural zone.
Good evening.
Ms. Sharon.
This applicant is on 2.31 acres in RA zoning, as you stated. He needs a special, or they need a special use to place a mobile home on less than 5 acres. Planning Commission recommended approval. Staff's been working with this applicant for several months to bring them into compliance, and it is consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Questions of our planning director?
Is this going to replace a camper?
Yes, yes,
So is that camper going to be removed
it is.
from the property?
It is. That was part of the code compliance
Okay.
direction.
Other questions for our planning director? Thank you, ma'am. Is the applicant present? Come on up, tell us what you'd like to do. You would give us your name and your address and sign in there, please.
My name is Kimberly Ray, and I'm here in regards to remove a camper from a home to move into a double wide to better myself, to have a better home, and to better my family, and to live closer to my parents because neither one of our health is really that great at the time. And on the top of that, the whole entire community is my family.
Questions of the applicant? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so at this time, I'll open this hearing. Is there anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion to approve SU 21-3.
Motion by Commissioner Dooley for approval,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And SU 21-03 is approved 4-0. We move on to SU 21-04. Jackie Townley requests a special use of tax map parcel L18-068 for the purpose of placing a temporary sawmill in a RA residential agricultural zone. Ms. Sharon.
The staff found this special use to be consistent with the future land use. As you stated, it's over 15 acres of residential agricultural zoning. It is consistent with the comp plan. The planning commission recommended approval. They did add the stipulation that it would be for 1 year dating from June, which was an estimated time when the use started, and a restriction on large or logging trucks coming onto the site. But it is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the zoning.
Questions for Ms. Sharon? Thank you, ma'am. Is the applicant present? Come on up and tell us what you'd like to do.
Yeah, I had asked to, and I put a wood miser sawmill on the property, not knowing that I had to have, it is on the property. I did not know I had to have a permit at the time until I was notified that I needed a permit. But it's only a hobby, just something to piddle with. It's not nothing to do with commercial, not going to be commercial. No intentions of being commercial, probably wouldn't be commercial if you want to, because it ain't big enough. But I have no intentions of doing commercial or nothing. I just a hobby to piddle with. That's all it is. Just to saw boards for trailers or something to farm, build a fence, build a corral, or work on a barn with.
Questions of the applicant?
So you were, I guess, the planning commission, you're okay with not having logging trucks?
Yeah, I'm okay
You're
not
not
having
gonna
log truck. I will ask that that I applied for 60 months where I don't have to go through this every 12 months. I did apply for 60 months permit. Like I said, I did not know I had to have a permit.
So you're not planning on selling any of this lumber you're cutting?
No,
Okay.
no. I ain't in the timber business. I just piddle with it.
Okay.
I thought, and Sharon might answer this, but I thought that once we approved it, then it didn't have to come back to us anymore. And he was talking about, like 5 years. I thought it was usually a year, and it didn't come to us, but it came back to you all.
No, the code allows for a 1 year temporary use. So he would have to come back through the process.
But it would not come to us, would it?
Yes,
Yes.
What I thought
it's
before
a
that,
special use.
oh,
Especially.
is that because his is personal?
No,
Instead-
that's just the way our code lays it out. It is a temporary use and temporary for a year. And even though it has the restriction of time, it still has to come back.
Yeah, you said ours is event. There's a special use and a special event.
Correct.
That's correct.
Okay, that's where I was getting all crossed up. Okay, I get it. Okay, thank you.
Other questions for the applicant?
Jackie, one of the, a lot of feedback that I've heard from citizens is the fact that, the goal is for it to not grow beyond what your stated purpose is
That's right.
today, which is just hobby sawmill. One of the stipulations I've had bouncing around looking at, and so I think some of the other ones have seen as well, is the fact that we would have the ability to have staff come and inspect to ensure that it is complying with your stated
I don't have a
desire.
problem.
Okay,
I don't have a problem.
okay,
Staff come on. I don't mind if staff come.
okay. Yeah, I think that would just help
Yeah, I don't mind.
to know that it's.
I ain't going commercial and there ain't gonna be logging trucks coming in and all that stuff.
And how often are you talking about?
For me, it would be at a minimum of an annual basis that we would instruct staff, because we are limited in staff, number one, but we would instruct staff to go out to ensure that it is within being in compliance with private use. Using the saw, I mean, I assume, you wouldn't have a problem with the hours during daylight hours. I mean, you're
Yeah, I
not gonna
don't
be-
have a problem with daylight hours. No.
So I think our noise ordinances stipulates between like 7 and 9, 7 a.m.
That's
and
not a
9.
problem.
Other questions? Thank you. At this time, I'll open this hearing. Is anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Come on up, give us your name and your address. You'll have 3 minutes.
Jimmy Hamby, live at 168 Barker Road. And first off, I'd like to say that I respect my neighbor's right to oppose anything they want to oppose. And I hope that they respect mine to approve of it. First off, this is not a commercial unit. I've been around the sawmill. I worked on one 2 days one time, and that was enough. They're run by about a 300 horse Detroit engine that you could hear to 53 highway from Jackie's house and from my house. There's no way to make a living with a wood miser. You will not saw enough lumber and furnish trucks and people to do that to make a living out of it. Nobody, I don't know anybody that's got one that makes a living doing it. It's for a hobby. And another thing, Jack has an asphalt driveway. You go pulling loaded trucks out of there about a week and he'll have a gravel driveway. And I hear around my neighborhood, I hear saws, chainsaws, I hear lawnmowers, I hear motorcycles, leaf blowers, but I've not heard this mill except the time that I went over there and I was standing beside of it talking and it running. It's not that loud. My question, I guess, to this board is, do we ban all these other things? Do we ban the lawnmowers, the weed eaters, the motorcycles, and all these things that make noise? You can't run a sawmill, even if it was a sawmill. You can't run it at night, you'll wind up with no hands. That is probably the whole thing, my part. I got thinking why I even got involved in this thing. And I worked on that sawmill and it was the hardest work I ever done. And I didn't think that man that was running it would ever eat dinner. So I'd ask that you approve this application as it was presented.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone else to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone here? Come on up. Give us your name and your address.
My name is James Brewer. I live at 364 Indian Cove Drive. Mr. Thurman, I'm going to speak on behalf of 4, 5, 6 people. So I'd like to know if you allow me approximately 10 minutes rather than 3.
I will.
You want to raise your hand?
Raise your hands. He's speaking for. All right, I'll give you 10.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Let me finish this here for you.
Go ahead.
Good evening, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. My name is James Brewer. I'm a registered voter in Dawson County, and I live so close to the subject property that I can hear the sawmill every time it starts. I've been given the privilege of speaking for many of the people who oppose the rezoning, many of which are here in the audience. Would those opposed please stand? Thank you very much. I'm also speaking for the 100 some odd people who have signed petitions opposing this rezoning. We're requesting that all the following objections be on the record. I'd like to bring your attention to page 88 of the application, specifically under the analysis heading. We are challenging the analysis and the observations noted with respect to the request. The analysis states that the uses of the property would fit the general character of the region. This is not true. The property uses will not fit the general character of the region. The area is zoned RA, residential agricultural. It has never been zoned for any other purpose. The analysis states that the property in question is adjacent to a parcel already accustomed to truck and other work equipment. Well, the only other truck and work equipment in that area belongs to Townley Construction. They operate on property that's zoned R and A and has never been zoned commercial. I'd like to address the items as they're listed on the application. Item A, it says that all properties around this area are zoned RA, and they are. However, Townley has a commercial office building on this property, a construction company on this property, a plumbing company on this property, a portable toilet company on this property, and an overwhelming number of related vehicles related to those businesses. This was never zoned for that. And this is not consistent with the future land use map. The site of the construction company is an eyesore to the community. It has continually expanded since its inception in 1986, which started out as 2 small chicken coops. The application is asking for a 5-year permit.
Sir,
The community.
Stop for a minute. Now, we're here to talk about the sawmill tonight, not all the other businesses that Mr. Townley has. So stick to the script of the sawmill.
The application is asking for a 5-year temporary permit. The community is concerned that in 5 years, the sawmill area will resemble the area I just described. We'll move on to items B and C, which are rather redundant. One says there will be no diminishment of property values. The other says there will be no destruction of property values. The rezoning will clearly devalue properties within the range of the sawmill noise, not to mention the truck, traffic, and the pollution. The rezoning of this property is detrimental to the surrounding homeowners. And they agree with the local realtors in the area who estimate a 10% drop in property values, as well as many 6 houses in the Indian Cove area becoming almost unsellable. As Townley expands his businesses, he infringes on the health, safety, and general welfare of the community. I'd like to move on to item D. Much to my amazement, we are in complete agreement with item D because it states clearly there will be no gain to the public. No kidding. How does the public gain from him running a sawmill? Only irritation and discontent can come from this rezoning. Item E states that the property is suitable for the proposed use and fits the general character of the area. The general character of the area, again, is residential. Rezoning will be in direct conflict with the 2018 comprehensive plan and the future land use plan, which identifies this property as SRS, sub-rural residential. Sub-rural residential clearly prohibits any development other than residential. Bear with me, I'm almost done. Item F. Item F is legal doublespeak. What I gained from it is an obvious attempt to get around the impending land use plan by incorporating undeveloped land into the existing commercial complex that Townley runs. Again, this is a direct threat to the health, safety, and general welfare of the community. Item G, the applicant is asking for a 5-year permit. What's temporary about 5 years? The volume of timber on his property doesn't warrant the request. The county's own engineering department did not sign off on this application. Is that not a red flag? They cited the following reasons that include no discussion about access to the site, no discussion about truck size and type, no discussion about operating business hours, and concerns about the floodplain. None of these were addressed in this application. Ladies and gentlemen, the issue here is zoning enforcement. The quality of life for hundreds of families in the area will be greatly diminished. These people have invested millions of dollars in their homes. They pay thousands of dollars in property tax in what they believed to be was a residential zoned area. The Board of Commissioners cannot in good faith approve this request. The commission is mandated to act in the best interest of the county, not an individual. Approving this zoning variance will set a precedent which will destroy the integrity of the current zoning classification. This will send a message to all businesses in the area that they can expand at will without concern for the surrounding community. This application is in direct conflict with the Dawson County 2018 Comprehensive Development. Granting this rezoning request infringes on the rights of all citizens and is detrimental to the community. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe we made a substantial case for the denial of this zoning request. And I hope that the argument we made is not lost by my closing. I'm deeply troubled by comments I've heard while gathering signatures for this petition. I've had several people tell me they were afraid to sign the petition because Townley would get them. I had one gentleman tell me if he signed the petition, Townley would cut off his water. I said, well, that's not going to happen. Only the board will see these petitions. He said, well, that's even worse because I know they'll tell Townley what I signed. One housewife in a local subdivision wanted to speak tonight. She told me she feared for retaliation from Mr. Townley. Intimidation and fear used against one's neighbors cannot be tolerated in this county or this country for that matter. If these claims bear out to be true, this is a violation of their civil rights and can warrant a federal investigation. I hope for everyone's sake that no one in the county government is associated with these allegations. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here speak in opposition to the application? Come on up. Give us your name and your address. You will have 3 minutes.
Good evening, Kathy Gannon, 450 Laney Bennett Road. And I would like to request an additional minute and a half. I'm speaking for 3 people who are not here this evening, who live on Laney Bennett Road and could not be here tonight. But I'll only take another minute and a half.
4.5 minutes?
Yes, sir.
I'll grant it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Appreciate your service. As I said, my name is Kathy Gannon, and I respectfully request that you deny Mr. Townley's application for a not so temporary sawmill, as was said, in an RA zone that is surrounded by residential use. I think a case can certainly be made for the severe devaluation of some of the adjacent and nearby residents, their properties. In addition, the noise diminishes the value and the enjoyment in the surrounding neighborhood communities. So the application itself shows no hardship. No hardship was cited by the applicant, and no hardship is alluded to in the application. Whereas the adjacent neighbors and the surrounding community will suffer a hardship from the loss of the peaceful enjoyment of their property. And we do face untold changes and increased uses over the next 1 to 5 years, simply based on our experience with the applicant's other ventures. What will a casual and intermittent sawmill morph into? At the Planning Commission, we did learn that people are bringing their logs to the sawmill. And we did learn that other people are using the sawmill. This is not presented as a casual hobby, since people use the sawmill and bring their logs to the sawmill. Over the years, as you've heard, the entire swath has increasingly covered with other uses. But Mr. Townley does take that equipment off-site. None of that work is done at that location. Not so with the sawmill. The noise of that use is intrusive to everyone in all directions. You might have a noise meter that registers whatever decibels, but if you can't sit in your living room or on your porch and read the newspaper and have a cup of coffee without that noise, it doesn't matter what the decibel number is. It's what reasonable people can tolerate on their own back porch and in their own living room. It would be easy to ascertain that the number of people who have come out in opposition of this really have nothing to do with Mr. Townley, but everything to do with the noise that this intrusion causes in all of our lives. It is one thing to have a visual blight, but that is contained. This new venture, this hobby, is clearly affecting a large number of people. So to balance out his need for a hobby and our need for quiet enjoyment of our property becomes your task this evening. And your challenge is basically to help us eliminate the noise. One way that could be done is to take that part of the recommendation of the Planning Commission and make the sawmill truly temporary for 1 year, beginning last June, when the sawmill started. Then to eliminate the noise from his neighbors, Mr. Townley could move the sawmill over to behind his own backyard where he has outbuildings. And as suggested by your noise ordinance, the saw could be placed inside of one of those buildings. This could eliminate the noise to a great extent. While most of us would like to see the sawmill totally denied, we understand that it's allowed in this zoning. It's not allowed by right. So we do hope that you would deny it. But if you are unable to find that solution, at least give the community the solution of no noise. So that is your challenge. I respectfully request that you either deny this application or have this temporary sawmill actually be temporary, moved to Mr. Townley's own backyard, inside of one of his buildings, and then that you enforce it, as Mr. Gaines asked earlier, by checking to make sure that the noise is contained and that is truly a hobby. It's not being wood carried out for commercial purposes, even if it's not paid for, and that our privacy and our ability to enjoy our property is upheld. I thank you so very much for your time this evening.
Thank you. Anyone else here to speak in opposition to the application? Come on up. Give us your name and your address. Sign in, then you will have 3 minutes.
I'll sign in as soon as I get the paper back. Okay. I'm Diane Dotson, and I live on Indian Cove Drive. My husband and I purchased a house on Indian Cove 30 years ago. And we purchased that house. It was vacation cottage restricted was the zoning. We purchased that house because we wanted to live in a residential area. This hearing involves a variance request to change the zoning for a special purpose, that of operating a sawmill. It's indicated that it's portable, it's a hobby, it's still a sawmill. It's still, as far as I know, an industrial operation, maybe on a small scale, but an industrial operation. My concern is that the Zoning Commission and now you are considering changing the zoning in this residential area. Mr. Townley applied for the zoning change because, as he indicated, he didn't realize he needed to have this. And so thus we were at zoning and now we're here. So he made this application, and during the zoning hearing, it was pointed out that, that there were multiple other operations on that particular property. Let me be clear, I have no bone to pick with Mr. Townley at all. He's been a well-respected member of this community for years. He serves and has served his community well year after year. He's a citizen who is pursuing his own endeavors, as any citizen might want to. My bone to pick is with the Zoning and Planning Commission and with you guys, because I'm concerned about depending on residential agricultural zoning. And I don't understand, if this is granted, does that change the zoning to residential and agricultural / industrial? Does it change it to residential, agricultural, commercial, agricultural? We've got a lot of things in this little area. And I'm concerned that, like others have spoken, property values go down because we've got not just residential agricultural in this area, we've got all these other things. We've got commercial, we've got, and now this quasi-industrial, hobby, whatever it is. So my concerns here are that y'all are all elected. We've elected you to enforce the laws here, to the ordinances and the zoning laws in this county. You appointed the zoning and planning folks. And all I'm saying is we need to follow the plans that have been put in place. We need to follow the zoning. This whole idea that you can be in a residential agricultural zoned area and have all these other activities, all these other operations is ludicrous. It's chaos. So I'm asking that you deny his request.
Time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else here to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, can I ask the staff something?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I think I want to get this lady's answer, her question answered. So this request is not a zoning change.
It is not. It is
Still saying, that's what I was trying to answer. So it's staying RA.
correct.
Okay. I just wanted to, it's a temporary use permit.
Correct.
Okay.
So in 1 year.
Okay.
It won't.
Okay.
I was just trying to get your question answered.
All right.
I do have a question for legal, if that's okay.
Yep. Go ahead.
Angie, on the 1 year versus the 5, what are your thoughts on that? I know there's been some discussion about what was actually allowed here, so.
Yes, so the provision in the ordinance that is being referred to, under the permitted use table, it provides that a temporary sawmill can be permitted as a special use, and then it refers to a section of the code. When you go to that section 318H, it says this: temporary location of a portable sawmill on timber sale property is allowed for no more than 1 year. So I think that could be read to say that it's limited to 1 year, but I think probably the better reading is that if it's on timber sale property, it's limited to 1 year.
And this is not timber sale.
I have not heard anything to that effect. The Planning Commission did recommend that it be a 1 year permit, and it certainly is a temporary permit, is the way it's referred to, or it's referred to as a temporary sawmill. So that could be referencing it's not permanently affixed somewhere, or that could be referring to the temporary timing of it. So the Planning Commission viewed it as a temporary and limited it to the 1 year. That was their recommendation, but certainly that's a recommendation for this board to take and do with it as well.
Any more questions?
No.
Follow-up question for legal. Can we define, I heard the comment, commercial use. There's some concerns about it being commercial use. The applicant has said it is for private use. And how do we stipulate between or control the differences between the two?
Yes. So we talked collectively, the director had offered some possible conditions that might be applied to the special use permit, which is an option. And one condition that I think would address that we had worded as follows is wood products and or materials produced by the portable sawmill on the property shall be for the owner's personal use and shall not be sold or offered in exchange for any other benefit to any third party, directly or indirectly. So that could address that personal use and also address that it's not to be used for any commercial exchange of benefits. Now I did hear one of the speakers say that people were coming on to use the sawmill and bringing logs onto the property to use the sawmill. So to the extent maybe that's as a friend and it's not a commercial or an exchange of benefit, then that may be something you want to address independently if you want them to not be able to bring. And actually one of the conditions that has been proposed would also state that there would be no logs or other wood materials brought onto the property, that only those logs that are felled on the property would be used in the portable sawmill. So that's just something else you could address.
Is it appropriate to ask Mr. Townley some more questions?
You can.
Can you hear me?
Come up here. Come back up to the microphone.
Okay. Are there trucks going in and out?
No.
No log trucks, no anything?
Ain't no log
Okay,
trucks.
no trucks going in and out.
I mean, there might be a truck come here once in a while, but there may be a truck come in the driveway every once in a while anyway. 'Cause
But it's not about the
No,
sawmill.
no.
Okay.
Not hauling logs.
Okay.
No.
All right. Do other people use the sawmill?
Yeah, now my niece, my nephews and my brother and stuff, we use the sawmill, yeah.
The
No,
fa-
no, the family, yeah. The family
Okay.
does use sawmill. None.
All right.
I mean, a friend may come over and help me saw something, you know.
Okay. Is it possible to move the sawmill so where some of these people cannot
If
hear?
I move it, Miss, the one on Lady Bennett Road, she said
Can.
it needs to be in my backyard. It is in my backyard.
Oh,
It's right behind my house. It's not over there next to Laney Bennett Road. It's right behind my house.
okay. And
Calm down.
is it possible? I think I can answer my own question. But is it possible to put it in some kind of enclosed?
No, ma'am.
Okay, that's.
I mean,
fine.
you'd build a shed over it, but it ain't going. And you can't, you'd have to make a big opening to get along.
Mhm,
It
mhm.
ain't like you walk through a 3-0 door and get to it. You know, you gotta have an opening to get along.
All right, Angie, when we're talking about other people using the sawmill, I mean, is it all right for family? Are we just talking about him use it? Or can he have friends and family?
Well,
That's up to us.
yeah, that's up to you.
That's our-
So
that's
That's
not
up
in
to us.
any of our
Yeah,
ordinances
so
or anything. Okay.
that's right. It's up to you. So how the whole concept of a special use
Mhm.
is that you need to look at the property that's at issue and make a decision unique to that property as to what's appropriate for the surrounding area and on that property. So the special use allows you to define that use, as you see appropriate with appropriate conditions. So in the conditions that we talked about this afternoon, and you've been presented a copy of, condition number 7 says the portable sawmill shall only be used to mill logs felled on the property and shall not be used to mill logs brought from off-site. So that would, I think, address that issue if you don't want to allow additional logs. So if it's a hobby and it's for personal use, then you want to ensure that it's confined to that, then that condition on number 7 would address that and not allow a stream of people coming in to bring logs in and out. That's a concern.
They're not gonna be a string of people. And let me clear
But
up.
we allow people to bring wood to a site and cut up for firewood and running chainsaws and log splitters and all that. I mean, it's if his land is already cleared, has a home and business on it, then he won't have any logs. mean,
I don't know
I
what's
think
on the property,
ordinance-
but
The ordinance states, and I think you read that, the ordinance states, and if you're logging for commercial use, you have a temporary permit on the property to cut up those logs that you're logging on that property.
Well-
That's under commercial application, right?
yeah, so just to clarify, Commissioner, there is a separate rezoning classification, CIR for commercial industrial restricted district for commercial sawmills. So this by its very nature in RA cannot be a commercial sawmill.
Right.
So, and I don't think that's what Mr. Townley intends to do. But if we address that specifically, since he's indicated it is personal and it's for hobby, I think it's fine to condition it to that. So there's no question about it. But there is a separate commercial category that's not at issue here.
Well, and as Commissioner Satterfield has stated, I mean, I can order myself, and I live right down below most of these folks. I can order a load of logs and have them dumped in my yard, and I can saw them up for firewood because that's personal use. That's not a commercial business that I've started cutting firewood for everybody around me. I'm cutting firewood for myself, but I can have logs brought to my house that I bought and cut them up for my personal use. And that doesn't turn it into a commercial business of my own. It's just for my own personal use. Because, you know, I don't see it. I don't see how you can prohibit somebody of having something brought to his house if the board so desires to prove this and tell him he can't have a log, or he can't bring a log from a job that he did where he sawed down a tree back on the trailer that he has. Exactly right. I mean, I think that would be going way out beyond what this ordinance says, because this ordinance basically says special use in an RA zoned district, which means that special use permit can be allowed in RA if this board so desires. And I don't have any more questions. Do y'all have any more questions for Mr. Townley?
You want me to?
Go ahead.
How many days a week is this running?
Might not run but one day a week, might not even run a week, might not even run for a week or two.
Okay,
You know.
and when it runs, how many hours a day?
Well, it might run 2 or 3 hours, it might not run but an hour.
Mhm.
Depends on how much
Just
time we got.
varies.
Yeah, it varies. It ain't like you go over at 7 o'clock in the morning, crank it, run it till 5 o'clock in the evening. No, we just run it.
My
Well, we got time.
problem about this, hearing it, that it's a sawmill, I conjure up all these, I mean, an actual big
No, it's
sawmill,
not.
you know, and there are log trucks coming in
No,
and there
no,
are logs,
No.
and this is something that, a sawmill is usually something somebody
That's
does
exactly right.
as
For a
their
living.
bid.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
they do it for a living, and
Yes,
that's, and I know where some are, and that they'd be pretty annoying.
That's
I
exactly
guess.
right. I'm not asking for that.
Yeah, yours is small.
Wood miser, just a small
Wood
wood
miser.
miser. Got a little old, probably 30 horsepower diesel motor. That's all it's got.
Yeah.
Right. One thing, let me say, this is not, I kept hearing saying zone, this is not a zone. I
That's
mean,
right,
it's
it's
not
not
going to
reason.
change the zoning of my property, right?
No,
No,
Okay.
no, it's not a zone.
No.
Okay. Special use permit
Okay.
request. Any other questions for Mr. Townley?
Yeah, you know, the thing that I keep hearing is, you know, residential, you're in RA zoning and under our RA category, I don't know if someone else to read it, but there's a lot of different, RA is pretty broad on the things you can do. You can have chicken houses, you can have a farm, you can have tractors. There's a neighbor I talked to the other day that, you know, you bush hog with a tractor that's
Yeah.
probably the same size. So to me, the size and scope fits within RA. With the respect to the neighbors and sound, I think we can mitigate some of the concerns with the truck traffic that
Yeah.
we can limit that with stipulations. We can eliminate the noise due to hour restrictions. We can eliminate the it growing outside of the scope that you're discussing in it today with regular inspections by staff. So a lot of the concerns that I hear, to me, we can try to balance this out. And that's one of our biggest challenges. And I told some folks when I met with them the other day on the site is one of our jobs is to balance private property rights.
Right.
For a private owner that owns land in an RA agriculture zoning with the rights of those around him as well. And so that's our challenge in it. And this is one that is tough, but I think we can mitigate some of the concerns that are addressed to the best of the ability and move forward. So would somebody want to read, you mentioned a couple of those stipulations. Sharon, do you want to read I think y'all had come up with some to try to address some of those concerns that were brought up.
Any more questions for Mr. Town?
I don't.
Thank you.
I'd ask,
Okay.
do you ever run it on Sunday?
No, we run, some of the kids might run it on Sunday. I don't run it on Sunday.
But there would be some.
I mean, not very much, but we might go our Sunday evening.
Okay.
Would you be willing to limit it to certain days and certain hours?
I don't really want, I mean, I don't run it past 7 in the morning, 9 at night, but I don't want to limit the days, because some days I might have Sunday, might be the only day I got to run.
Mm-hmm.
Because work 6 days.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Couple of conditions we were kicking around. The first, the portable sawmill shall not be operated on the property after June 30th of 2022. That was the Planning Commission's recommendation. And
That's the year permit.
yeah, and that's, the only tweak we did to that was to add the 30th of June, so there's no question. And then their second condition was no logging vehicles or large commercial trucks used to transport wood products or materials produced on site or off site. A portable sawmill be located a minimum of 100 feet from any property line when in operation. So only when it's turned on. If he's storing it closer than that, then that would not be a concern. The portable sawmill only be operated between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 p.m., but we were considering Monday through Saturday, leaving out the Sunday, as you had mentioned. Wood products produced by the sawmill on the property shall be for the owner's personal use and not be sold or offered in exchange for other benefit to third party directly or indirectly. And that you had covered number 6. And number 7, portable sawmill only used to mill logs felled on the property and not logs bought from off-site. And it also that it be granted, if so granted, limited to a single Wood-Mizer portable sawmill.
You know, one of the things that was brought up a lot was noise. We have a noise ordinance here in the county that would have to be adhered to, correct?
Correct.
And that would be adhered to and controlled by code enforcement, correct?
Correct.
So if the noise was beyond the allowable limit, then they would take care of it.
The noise ordinance does not specifically have a decibel rating in it. However, if there was a complaint, then we would have to check as far as what is the cause of the noise and what is the distance separation and the time of operation.
Does the noise ordinance have anything to do, any specific numbers in reference to separation?
It does if there is an excessive noise, and it's 1,500 feet from the nearest home, which is would be difficult for staff to enforce, but the hours of operation are in the noise ordinance.
Right,
And,
7 to 9.
Yes.
7 to 10.
7 to 10.
Okay.
We were recommending 7 to
Okay.
9, but again, just trying to craft some conditions to address some concerns,
Okay.
special use.
Thank you.
Thanks.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'm gonna make a motion to approve SU 21-04. Following stipulations to follow our noise ordinance, which is 7 a.m. from 10 p.m. to 7 a.m., which is in our ordinance.
That's when you can't use it.
Huh?
That's when you couldn't use it, 10 PM to 7 AM.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I thought you
Could
said
not use it.
can.
Could not.
Okay. So basically
To
7 to
follow our
10 you
noise
can.
ordinance. The no logging trucks will be hauling logs in and out. That is not a commercial use. It's for Mr. Townley and his family and friends. It's not to be sold. Nothing's going to be sold on property or off property of this material. The stipulation as far as the time frame is on a commercial operation of logging a property and cutting the logs and splitting the wood and cutting the boards up on site. And that's a 1-year stipulation. But on the my belief is on the RA, on a hobby or not commercial use, there's not a stipulation on the time frame. I'd also make a recommendation that staff check once a year to make sure he's in compliance and it's not growing and it's not becoming a commercial operation.
Okay.
That's my recommendation.
Have a motion with those stipulations. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield. It was seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion.
You said staff is checking it once a year.
Yes.
Okay.
And this can be done for 5 years, Angie?
It's
I think if it's not on a timber sale property, then it does not have that 1-year limitation.
So technically it could be infinite unless we do put the time limit.
That's
on
right.
it. And you
Oh,
said
okay.
5 years? Is that
Yeah.
what you said?
Okay. Any other discussion? Here none, please vote. And SU 2104 is approved 4-0. All right. Next, we have ZA 21-15 Miles Hansford and Talent LLC on behalf of Sony Electric Membership Corporation. Request to rezone and the special use of a semi-public services of tax map parcel 115-004, 115-005, 115-005-001, 115-006, 115-007, and 115-008 from RA Residential Agriculture and CHB Commercial Highway Business to CIR Commercial Industrial Restricted for the purpose of developing approximately 171,900 square feet of semi-public use. Ms. Sharon.
Thank you. For those wondering what semi-public use, it is basically a fancy way to say utilities. It's a utility sector that is providing a service. So this property, half of it was already zoned, or a large portion of it, commercial highway business, and there is commercial activity around it. Immediately across the street is an automotive repair tow shop type of operation, and the area is transitioning from residential to commercial. It is consistent with our future land use plan and our future land use map. We do have comments from emergency services, but everything that is of concern, we will address during site plan review and during commercial building plan review. It is a large piece of property. They are offering up certainly all the vegetation and buffering per our code, and staff is supportive.
Questions for our planning director? You'll get used to me. Thank you. Is the applicant present? Come up and tell us what you'd like to do. Give us your name and your address. Please sign in.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Ethan Underwood with Miles Hansford and Talent. I'm here with Mr. Ryan Satterfield with Sony EMC. They're excited to be bringing this facility to Dawson County because it's going to help citizens of Dawson and also up into Lumpkin County and Hall County. What they're wanting to do is to put a staging facility here in Dawson that will help them to get to customers during emergencies. I believe Ryan had told me it would cut their response time by over an hour. So getting folks up here and getting them out in storm events is very important. It'll be bringing approximately 30 jobs to Dawson County, but hours of operation we're anticipating will be about from 6 to 6 on most days, unless there's storm events. If I may, I will quickly go through a presentation, but I don't want to belabor it. Just under 31 acres. We are asking for CIR under your new land use resolution. This is the only zoning category that this use is allowed in. But as the planning director stated, a portion of this property is already zoned for commercial highway business. Your comprehensive plan does call for this to be a commercial use, and you have industrial uses on your comp plan to the northeast, as well as office to the right. East side of this property. This is the site plans that was presented. Significant landscaping. There's actually going to be, and it is under construction in an apartment complex. It's in a part of a mixed use project along Highway 400 that will screen this. There will be stored outside poles, transformers, and equipment, but it was made very adamantly to us by your former planning director and your current planning director. This looked nice, and you'd not be able to see those things from Highway 400. So with the landscaping and with those building screenings, we believe that will be accomplished. Again, this is an aerial map just so you can see what's currently on the property. Staff report did say that it complied with the comprehensive plan. We actually suggested some additional zoning conditions after meeting. We had one neighbor that had come forward to us, and they have a residential home. They were a little shocked to see that your comprehensive plan called it for their home at some point to be commercial. But when they realized that, they said, okay, how can we make this as tolerable as we can while they're still living on the property? So we wanted to make sure that we had adequate conditions addressing outdoor lighting. Also to show that there would be parking. All of the parking will be on the site. Apparently there's some issues with some trucks that are parking in the ditches and on the sides of the road currently now. So we wanted to assure those neighbors that that would stop. And then finally, they had asked for fencing around the perimeter. So we wanted to clarify that this would be a black or green coated vinyl fence around the perimeter of the site to protect property owners on both sides. With that, Mr. Satterfield, do you have anything that you'd like to say? We're happy to answer any questions, and we'll reserve the remainder of any time to answer you all or from folks from the audience.
Questions of the applicant?
What kind of setbacks we got over there? Or what are we?
50 foot, I think.
Setbacks. On the north side, we'll be looking at a 60-foot building setback. On the rear, I guess on the apartment side, it's a 35-foot setback. And I was actually speaking with your planning director. We're under your current code, the south portion of this property is outside the 400 corridor. So it's got a smaller setback. However, when those tax parcels get merged, we'll probably end up having to do a larger setback on that side as well.
What about the resident that was concerned? What's the setback at that home?
I believe so. Ms. Farrell, you may be able to correct me. I believe it's 40 feet on the front with a 10-foot landscape strip.
50 feet.
So is any vegetation, is it undisturbed buffer, or they're going to replant it?
Along that frontage will be graded and then be replanted with landscaping.
Is there any way to possibly berm that, put some type of greenery like Little Giants, or?
It depends on how much you want to see. I mean,
I'm just trying to, as far as the neighbor seeing it.
A landscape strip typically has a tree, a big tall tree every so many feet, 30, 40 feet, as opposed to just being a complete screen. For security purposes, I don't think that Sony would want to have just a complete screen along there, but they prefer to have the landscape strip as opposed to a buffer. I wish I could answer your question about the berm. It's just not been engineered to where we know whether that can be accomplished.
Other questions of the applicant?
Tell me about lighting on the project. I mean, what kind of lighting are we dealing with? I saw a stipulation I think you had in there, a condition about lighting.
Yes,
Can
sir.
you go back to that?
Yes, sir. This is straight out of your overlay.
Yeah.
And we have to do it whether it's a condition or not, but we wanted these neighbors to know, hey, we're thinking about it. So we put it in as a special condition.
Yeah.
My understanding is the light spillage is limited to half of a lumen at the boundary line. And that, once you put in a 50-foot buffer, that's not hard to accomplish.
Other questions of the app?
Who monitor about this parking of vehicles on the road?
It's code enforcement. I would imagine the sheriff's office may do that as well, but code enforcement certainly would have the ability to do that.
But people, this gonna, I mean, y'all are not gonna
They're not gonna
tell.
Brian, you want to introduce yourself?
Come on.
For the record, I'm not kin to Brian, so.
Yeah, I'm
Nice
sorry. I'm
name.
sorry you got stuck with the same last name as me. I started to say that, but didn't know if it was appropriate or not.
I've never seen the man.
That could be a blessing.
So y'all are related.
No.
No, not that we're aware of.
Where's your family from?
Hall County and White County.
No, I'm not related to us.
Yeah. So to answer your question, my name's Ryan Satterfield from Sony EMC. The other people that live close to it, one of their concerns was there are people that are parking Asplin trucks on the property now. Well, what they did, what they provided to us was those trucks tend to come out on their residential road and park before their shift ends, wait until their shift ends, then report to their normal site. I mentioned that to our CEO. I'm over the building and grounds area. Our trucks will not be parking, not only not on their residential road, but not on Carlisle Road at all, unless we are doing business at that point in time. That's the only way. And we reassured the couple that showed up for our public hearing and the planning that way, because theirs is a single dirt road that just does a half loop right there. I can imagine that trucks being on that would do some damage to it. That's not our point. We're here to be good stewards, help out the county of Dawson County. One of the things you mentioned on lighting, we're big on keeping the down lighting with LED lighting. Mainly reason we do that is for safety purposes. We don't want anybody on our property getting hurt, anything like that. That's our goal. Yeah, and I'd be more than glad to answer any questions.
Other questions?
So the trucks that they're talking about that was causing the issue, they won't even be there when y'all are there.
No,
anyway,
those
right?
were Asplin trucks who
Right, so
does
they'll be-
contract work, but
Right.
they had contracted with Carlisle to park on their property.
Right.
No, it will be just Sony trucks. Now, we do have contractors that will pull in to get a transformer pole or something like
But
that.
that would be
But those
inside the
individuals will not
facility
be
then,
there.
yeah.
They're not part of our property at all. They will be finding a new home at that point in time. Yes, sir.
Tell me how Sony engages in the public when they have a physical presence in a community.
We do a lot of different things. We work with schools a lot. We have certain programs that benefit them. We have fund drives at our work that do anything. If anybody had ever met our CEO, he is about as proactive as it gets. We're trying to reach out with the most updated technology, partner with as many as we can in that area to let them know we're not just there for emergencies and send you a power bill. We're there to be a part of the community as well. We've been incoming forever. And I'm one of those that goes out to the schools. We do everything from reading to kids. We do touch a truck. We take them to their sites. We try to get involved with the schools to help them in any way possible to support them. We do monetary gifts as well, but it seems like we get more bang for the buck when we physically show up and show our presence. You know, anybody can write a check, but that's not our goal at the end of the day. We don't mind helping monetarily, but we prefer to be involved in it as well.
And I know Georgia Power has a lot of different economic development programs. Do you guys have a program that would benefit our development authority?
Yes,
and
our
economic
marketing
plan?
department does the same thing that you're referring to. I can't go in depth of what they do because I would not want to speak out of line and tell you something that's incorrect at that point in time. But yes, and what you see is the co-ops that are all across Georgia. We kind of conglomerate together to do that economic, the reviews, different things that we're going to do in that point in time. Yes, sir.
Other questions? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your time.
All right, so at this time, I'll open the hearing. Is anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Okay, anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Hearing none, I'll close that hearing. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I recommend, make a motion that we approve ZA 21-15.
with the three stipulations or the
Yes.
stipulations they provided?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Motion to approve with the stipulations provided,
Second.
second by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion.
I just want to ask, like I said, if y'all get a chance to take care of that neighbor as far as any kind of buffering or whatever y'all can work out. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, please vote. And ZA 2115 is approved 4-0.
Welcome to Dawson County.
Thank you so much. Be good stewards and good neighbors.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have ZA 21-16, Jim King requests to rezone tax map parcel 107-259 from RA residential agriculture to RMF residential multifamily for the purpose of developing a 48 townhome community. And there is a variance that's associated with as well. And we'll take both of these at the same time because I'm sure I'll talk about both of them at the same time. VR 2114, Jim King requests to vary from Dawson County Land Use Resolution Article 3, Section 308.C.6.B, the width of the driveway. Ms. Sharon.
Thank you. As you said, the parcel is 8 acres in size, and we're looking at a total of 48 units. This application is consistent with the future land use, which calls for residential multifamily. The number of units being only 48 did not trigger a full DRI review, so you won't get many comments at this point regarding transportation and traffic. However, we do have comments from emergency services, which may make some changes to the concept plan in your backup. A lot of the technical design happens, certainly at plan review. But like I said, it's consistent. We're supportive of the driveway width variance that makes perfect sense for a townhouse that will most likely have a 2-car garage. But staff is supportive of the request.
Questions for Ms. Sharon? Thank you. Applicant present. Come on up. Tell us what you'd like to do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Jim King, 131 Prominence Court, Suite 230, Dawsonville, Georgia. Here tonight, we're proposing 48 attached homes on 8 acres. This is at the corner of Lee Castleberry Road and Stacy Lane. Stacy Lane is the road that runs parallel to 400, just one tier off of 400. The property is surrounded, of course, across Stacy Lane are commercial properties. And then on the south side, on the other side of Lee Castleberry Road, is a mobile home park. And on the other sides, it's agricultural. There is another property that's under development on the other side of Lee Castleberry, just almost directly across, but down, I guess that would be west, just slightly. That's currently being developed as multifamily. That one actually it was denied back in, I think, 99, and it was litigated, and it actually came to us when I was on the board, and we lost the litigation. The court, it was a court-ordered zoning to RMF. So this fits in the area, it fits future land use plan. It is a very small development. I've discussed this with several of you. And there were some concerns that were vetted during those discussions on the safety and the capacity of Lee Castleberry, or the substandard conditions of Lee Castleberry Road, and the ability to hold this development. Although this is a fraction, the traffic from this development is just a fraction of what will be coming down Lee Castleberry from Lumpkin Campground and other developments. My client has agreed to do some upgrades to Lee Castleberry Road from his side up to 400, where his impact will be. In addition, there were some other concerns about the aesthetics and things like that. So I took the liberty of to kind of address these concerns, drafting some zoning conditions. And then Commissioner Gaines also reached out even, I guess, after those conversations, and had some other tweaks and things, some concerns about architectural elevations and things like that, along with the Lee Castleberry Road improvements. And so anyway, we've come up with these conditions.
Just go ahead and give them that. That's fine. I'll look on the team.
Yeah, go ahead. We got it.
Unfortunately, I was unable to run these by staff until so she's so they're as new to her as they are to you. So I'd like to
go ahead.
I'd like to read these off. The development shall be developed in general accordance with the site plan approved with this rezoning. The developer shall construct a right decel lane, on Lee Castleberry Road. The developer shall improve Lee Castleberry Road along the subject's property frontage to the intersection of Georgia 400. Improvements shall include widening to 2 12-foot lanes with 2-foot shoulders and milling resurfacing the entire length. The developer shall donate an additional 10 feet of right-of-way along Lee Castleberry and Stacy Lane. Right-of-way shall be donated at the final plat stage and shall not count against the overall density. Developer shall plant at least one 3 to 4 inch caliper canopy type tree, street trees in each front yard and the side on corner lots adjacent to the right-of-way. All grassed areas on the dwelling lot shall be sodded. All utilities shall be placed underground. Development shall have covenants that require maintenance of the landscaped entrance area, open space, and amenity areas by a mandatory homeowners association. Home shall have a minimum front setback of 20 feet and or 24-foot minimum distance from the garage door to the sidewalk. Each home in development shall have not less than a 2-car enclosed garage. Garage doors shall have the appearance of carriage style doors and be painted a medium to dark earth tone color. Developer agrees to use a minimum of 4 different residential building elevations to avoid a cookie cutter look within the community. Elevation shall be similar to the renderings provided and must be approved by the planning director prior to issuance of a building permit. Home shall include a water table along the front and sides of brick or stone. The remaining facade must include a combination of at least 2 of the following: board and batten, shake, or lap fiber cement siding. There shall be no vinyl or aluminum siding. Home shall be a minimum of 1,600 square feet of heated space. All homes shall be a minimum of 2-car garage and a driveway sufficient width to provide for at least 2 parked cars side by side with a minimum of 24 feet between the garage and the sidewalk. We have some elevations that we can post. As well as the site plan, if y'all would like to see them. And I'm here for any questions.
Question for you real quick, just a clarification. One thing that we ran into before on these is one of the current concerns I've had in the past is, and I don't know what engineering term it is, but the throat depth of the driveway to make sure you can get 2 cars that don't infringe upon the sidewalk, internal sidewalk.
Yes, sir.
24 feet. I can't remember. Is that what we used before? Is that standard for engineering?
It
to
is.
have two vehicles. I want to say it was 20 to 24 feet. Okay.
It is. And we put in 2 conditions there for you, Commissioner Gaines, to cover that.
Yeah, and that's another thing we've had issues with.
Keeps them off the streets.
How many units is across the street?
In the mobile home park or the other?
No, right across from this property, there's all kind of grading and you said it was a residential.
That's right. The one that,
And you said has been denied and then,
Yeah,
so
they-
how many, I mean, there's a
I think it
bunch
was,
going
I
on.
believe it was 98. I believe that's,
You,
yeah.
do you,
I'm-
you know Harmony?
I'm almost positive it was 98 units. 83.
Are they townhomes or?
They are.
They're townhomes too. Okay. Well, there's a bottleneck down through there. There is so many people, and that, to me, that's just a pig trail.
Yes.
And I mean, I
That's-
don't know if these improvements will move people or not, but I'm telling you, seem like we just keep getting the cart before the horse. We keep putting all these houses in and all this, and our roads stay the same, and we can't stir 'em people with a stick now.
Yes, ma'am. That's what the other commissioners, that's concerned the other,
That's one of the things that when I
Did
first saw
did you
it.
meet with these others?
I spoke to them on the
meet,
phone.
but I
Yes,
talked
ma'am.
to him and told him I had the same concerns and
I'm telling you, I mean, I rode down in through there and, ooh, I'm telling you, it's some.
Yeah, it's substandard for sure. It needs, he's
That's a
agreed
good
to.
word for it. I just don't see how we can keep cramming more and more people on the same roads. It just, I didn't get a good feeling when I went down there. Let's just put it like that.
Mhm. And that's why they've asked him to improve the section from his out to 400 where his traffic will be. So, and is that fair to make 48 units do that? Probably not, but he's agreed to it. So,
I mean, somebody got to do something.
well, and I think that to that point was the fact that we've got the units going across. And
Yes.
that was done prior in the history of this board has been when the
Mhm.
developer needs something, we're going to take that leverage and require them to do improvements that are going to better the whole area. And so that's already approved. That's already in place. We can't make that 83 unit developer do it. We can make this guy do it.
Well, we can ask.
Yes.
Well,
You can't make, you can ask.
we will ask
There you go.
him to do it.
And he has agreed to do it.
Can I add to that, Commissioner? The 24 foot is the maximum that we have on our roads in our typical section. So we could go as low as 20 to 10-foot lanes, but our max is at 12 foot. So that's in keeping with the typical section that we would have if we were to improve our own roads that we're improving now are taking them 24 foot with 2-foot shoulders on each side. So that is in keeping with the typical section and within the development regulations that we have. The only question I would ask is that on item number 3, you talked about milling the entire length. Are you talking about milling the entire length from the development to 400 or from Lumpkin to 400?
No, from the development to
From the
400. Yes,
development.
we're only
Just wanted-
talking
I
about.
wanted to clarify that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. But
Other questions for the applicant?
Then he's willing to donate right away too.
Oh, yes, sir. 10 feet of additional right of way along Lee Castleberry and Stacy Lane. The reason the conditions worded that it be dedicated after a final plat is, as you well know, the multifamily zoning is based on a density per acre. And if you take away the acres that he's giving you, then you don't want to take away, what he's planned
Right.
anyway. So.
Which ought to help on the item we're gonna talk about under new business with that extra right away as far as the trail system or sidewalks or let's go help on that too.
Other questions of the applicant?
This is how many acres? 8,
Yes, ma'am.
48 townhomes on there. How much greenery is gonna be around there?
Lots of greenery.
Are you,
it's
It's like me, they did a pretty good job of cutting down trees where I go. Every time I go down there, just.
yeah, fortunately with the with our multifamily zoning, most counties, multifamily zonings, 12 to 18 units per acre. And in our county, it's only 6 units per acre. So that allows you to provide a lot of green space. And let me see if I've got the number for you.
Be more green than there is now.
It's the old site plan. I know it was greater than 20%. I can't remember the exact number. Ms. Fawcett. I do have just a little sketch of what we're proposing for the, an open grassed area, lawn area. A lot of times in the multifamily or townhome areas, even in these little bitty lot subdivisions, people don't want a big yard to maintain, but they do want some place that they can go and, walk their dog or go out and throw a Frisbee or something like that. So they want the best of both worlds. They just don't want to cut the grass there. So what we've done is try to provide an open play area like that. That's about the size of a football field. So, and I don't know if maybe having some difficulty pulling that up.
Other questions of the applicant?
I'll tell you what, I can show you this.
What? Oh, right here.
So this is definitely Castle
Mhm.
It's pretty much open out. It's open field.
Mhm.
No.
So let me
What's
put
the
the
open field?
this is.
It's all great.
Well, I thought I saw some houses, a house. Does anybody live there? They do? Okay, here, you can have it back.
So they'll be
I mean,
putting-
it's just such a
They'll be putting
ball.
in grass and trees.
Well, it's already got grass and trees on it.
But they'll be putting in more. I'm saying.
And this, and my client's here too. This is Billy Stark. If y'all have any questions of him, or do you have anything to add?
Any other questions of the applicant? Thank you. All right. I'll open this hearing. Is anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Anyone here to speak in favor of the application? Seeing none, anyone here to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Come on up, give us your name and your address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name's Deanna Dickinson. I'm 500 Dawson Point Parkway. I've met most of you before. I'm not really here in favor or in opposition. My biggest thing is thank you, Sharon, for speaking out, but also really watching what's going on in our community as far as the building process, our infrastructure. Do we have enough police to police our community, to keep the crime down, to watch our areas as we're bringing in more and more? So I'm not really opposing. I just really, really want y'all to watch what's going on in our community.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else to speak in opposition to the application? Anyone else? Seeing none, I'll close that hearing. Remind the board that we're looking at the ZA 2116 as well as the variance. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion that we approve ZA 21-16 and VR 2114 with the stipulations as read by the applicant. 13 stipulations.
Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Dooley for approval of ZA 2116 and VR 2114 with the stipulations that were provided. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion.
I will say that this type of zoning is, I'm not a big fan of, but it's the area that it's in. I don't see a whole lot of choices for it. So it's kind of, we are getting some road improvements out of it. And I think that's going to help the whole area there. And sometimes I think that's the best you can ask for.
And it fits our comp plan.
And it fits the comp plan.
You do, ma'am, you spoke, you have, not you. I'm speaking with the lady that spoke. Very valid concerns, and I want you to not, or we don't discount those concerns that you have. I think that, Jim spoke about like I said a minute ago, we have to balance the private property rights of individuals. We look at the comp plan. We look at a big picture of how things come together, and there are laws on both sides of this thing. And he spoke about a 80, what'd you say, 83 unit that they turned down that met the comp plan and everything. And then they turned around and got sued and they got nothing, no stipulations out of it. So I completely understand what you're saying. We're very cognizant of that. And definitely we don't discount those concerns, and thank you for bringing those forward. And we do look at that stuff. So thank you for those comments.
Still gonna be a lot of mess down that way. I know where yours starts and saying it's not fair to stick him with it, but I tell you right on down through there, and it is a bottleneck. It's just terrible.
Other discussion? Hearing none, please vote. And CA 2116 VR 2114 with the stipulations is approved 3-1. All right, we'll move on into new business. First up, we have consideration of resolution of support for Amicalola Falls Scenic Byway. You had that presented by the chamber president couple of weeks ago. I think council has weighed in on that as well, and that our support is not financial, it is support. Any other information needed? Oh.
Ms. Sharon, I just want, you're talking about the falls up there. The other night on Channel 2, they were listing the top 10 places to see leaves. And Amicalola Falls was #1.
I can't believe it.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful.
Yeah. #1 for the, I guess.
It's the #1 visited state park
in Georgia.
No doubt. All right, so what's the pleasure of the board?
Make a motion, we approve resolution to support the Amicalola Falls Scenic Byway.
Motion by Commissioner Gaines.
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0. Next up, we have consideration to move forward with a public hearing for resolution to adopt a Greenway and Trail Master Plan that was presented a couple of weeks ago. Any more information needed? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield. Seconded by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have consideration of RFP number 388-21, design build service for Etowah River Park Canoe Launch Ramp. Park Director presented that a couple of weeks ago. As you know, the wood stuff's falling apart down there. This will be replaced with a much nicer, more sturdy ramp. Any other information needed?
What was the money? 205,000. Was it 205? And there was something in there for a contingency, wasn't there?
40,000 for contingency, I believe.
Okay.
200 something with a contingency.
200. I don't want to say 2,000. 205. 5,000. But
We'll know exactly. I'll look it up.
I'm not sure. It was a lot. And where was the funding coming from? Does anybody remember?
Part of that $1.5 million that you already approved from SPOS 6.
That section is on the, I forgot what the water trail is called, but that's a designated water trail for people.
Oh, is it?
Tracks people, yep.
Water River, yeah.
I got it right here. It is.
Yeah, I bet not to exceed
That's part of the-
205,000.
Yeah, 160,000 with the 45,000.
Okay,
contingency.
that's where the 200,
Yeah.
okay.
It was less
And
than-
if I'm not mistaken, they said that when you're dealing with the water and the river and,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
there's a lot of unknowns that could happen. I think it's why that contingency is so high. So
Okay. Motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Fawcett. Second by Commissioner Gaines. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that's approved 4-0. Next up, we have consideration of 2022 payroll and holiday calendar that was presented by Ms. Christie. Standard rollover from one year to the next. Any other information needed? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield,
second.
seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0 as well. Item number 5, addition of FY 2022 DHS Deanna Specialty Transportation Contract. This is a reimbursement of the trip fees that we get that we transport through our transit buses. That's what this contract is. It's actually been in effect since June. State's a little slow getting out the contract. So any other information needed?
She said it was around 60,000.
Around 60,000, yes. Got 3 different trip rates, $7.75 regular, 12 something for going wheelchair, and then $25 or $35 an hour, and then $200 for a field trip. Motions.
Motion to approve the contract.
Motion by Commissioner Dooley,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Fawcett. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that contract is approved 4-0. Next up, we have FY 2023 Georgia Department of Transportation Federal Transit Administration Section 5311 Transit Contract. That's an annual renewal. $153,085. 50-50 match, so that's our portion. And we get $153,000 from federal/state. Any other information needed? Motions.
Motion to approve.
Motion by
Transportation grant.
Motion by Commissioner Satterfield,
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Dooley. Discussion. Hearing none, please vote. And that is approved 4-0 as well. So we did have a lady who contacted us about speaking in public comment at this particular time is Miss Sharon Topping. Is she here? Sharon Topping. Appears to not be here, so no one there for that particular public comment. That is all we have. Thank you for your attendance, both here and online. And with that, we are adjourned.